Hello, this is Bishop Manigault. Thank you for stopping by. I would like to share a word with you today from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 8, verses 4 through 7. And it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abiah, and they were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre and took bribes and perverted judgment. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah. And they said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons do not walk in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken to the voice of the people and all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. So here we see in the text that God will sometimes allow things to come into our lives that we asked him for. Or in other words, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. Just because you ask God for something and you receive it does not always mean that this is God's best for you. This incident with the children of Israel is a good example of this. The children of Israel wanted a king to judge them like all the other nations. They pleaded with Samuel to talk to God about this and somehow convince God that this was best for them. You know you're walking on dangerous ground when you tell God what is best for you. You're making a big mistake when you disregard what God says and insist on your way over his way. Sometimes the only way for us to see that what we want is not what we need is to get what we want. Let me say that again. Sometimes the only way for us to see that what we want is not what we need is to get what we need. Because it's only after we get what we need that we suddenly realize that what I wanted is definitely not what I needed. The children of Israel wanted a king. They did not need a king. God was their king. But they wanted a man to be king over them like all the other nations instead of God. What they wanted was definitely not what they needed. I'm sure that all of us can think back over our lives and find somewhere back there where this has happened to us. For me, I could not wait to get out of high school. I was bored to tears. I felt that I was wasting my time. I just knew that if I left high school that I could make my own way in the world without a high school diploma. So in 1967, I quit high school in the 10th grade. I was never surer of anything in my life than I was about this decision. I probably have never been more wrong about any decision either. This was a decision I would regret all the days of my life. However, I got exactly what I wanted, but it definitely was not what I needed. See, what I wanted was freedom, but what I got was bondage. I quit because I was feeling unchallenged, but after I quit, I never stopped being challenged. I found that people made assumptions about your intelligence, your abilities, and even your character based on the lack of that little piece of paper. What I got was not what I wanted. Furthermore, as a result of my decision, I never had a graduation ceremony. I never got to stand with my friends and my family and share in the sense of accomplishment and achievement that one gets at this very important milestone in life. As a matter of fact, I received my GED certificate somewhat casually in the mail about some 3.5 years later. I didn't have to worry about a yearbook picture or a class ring or a prom date because high school dropouts don't get any of these things either. I can't attend my high school reunion because there are no reunions for high school dropouts. Yes, I got what I wanted. And only then did I realize that what I thought I wanted was not what I needed at all. Israel wanted a king. God told Samuel, listen to the people, let them know that what they're asking for, and what it's going to look like rejecting him as their king. God tells Samuel in chapter 8, verse 9, to protest solemnly unto them and show them the man of the king that shall reign over them. My brothers and sisters, God will very often warn us about the wrong choices by pointing out to us the consequences of those choices. But nevertheless, he will leave the choice or the decision up to you. Again, in my case, my mother told me not to quit. My guidance counselor, Mr. Eves, told me not to quit. He pleaded with me not to quit, gave me all of the terrible things that could happen and would happen if I quit. Even some of my own friends suggested that I was being stupid. But did I listen? No. God warned Israel, but did they listen? No. Perhaps he's warning you right now. Will you listen? You see, it will always cost you greatly to choose your way over the right way. It will always cost you greatly to choose your way over God's way. Why? Because God's way is the best way. Samuel told the children of Israel that there would be a heavy cost to pay for choosing their own way. He told them the king that they want will take their sons, your daughters. He will take the best of your fields, the best of your vineyards, and all of your olive gardens, olive yards. He will take all of these things from you and give them to his officers and to his servants. Despite all of this, Israel still insisted on their way. So even with Samuel's pleading with the people not to reject God's way, they insisted upon having another king over them. The scriptures actually record the sad event this way. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, "Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we may also be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles." It is the beginning of a major disaster in our lives when we seek to be like everyone else. Why should God's people be like the people who reject God? Why should God's people be like the people who don't know God? Why should we be like those who have no God on their side? Why should God's people be like the people who have not experienced the deliverance and the salvation that only comes from God? God has called us, his people, to come away from or out of the evil world system. The Bible reminds us, "Come ye out from among them and what? Be separate, saith the Lord." My brothers and sisters, we are not just like other people. We are a chosen generation. We are a royal priesthood. We are a holy nation. We are people called by God's name. In fact, we are the apple of God's eye, and he is concerned about all that concerns us. In demanding their way, the children of Israel were denying God the right to rule and to reign over them. And we too suffer the same fate by insisting on our way, and we deny God the right to rule and to reign over us. Indeed, God is either Lord of all or what? He's not Lord at all. God's way is the best way. So I want someone today to know that there is a cost, and the cost of doing it your way will be very high, and in the end, not worth paying. Why pay the cost? Just to be lost? Why waste your time when you could be fine? Do it your way and you'll have to pay. Do it his way. Do it today. Why? Because God's way is the best way. Well, my time is up, but I do thank you for yours. Until next time, may God bless and keep you is my prayer. Bye-bye.